You're settling in now. Let the world slow down around you. Let the quiet seep in, gently replacing the noise of the day. You're here not to be jolted, but to drift, softly, steadily, into the folds of forgotten time. Tonight we journey far from modern comforts. Not to the castle halls or royal courts you may expect, but into the narrow, winding alleyways of a medieval city. These places were crowded, aromatic, restless, and entirely alive. Yet they were not built for ease or for the faint of heart. This is not the medieval fantasy of books and films. Here you'll find the stone beneath bare feet, the clang of the blacksmith's hammer in the dawn, and the scent earthy, acrid, sometimes sweet, of a world without plumbing, refrigeration, or quiet. Through 4 distinct chapters, we will explore what life was truly like. First, we'll walk in the worn shoes of the urban poor, examining their days in close, textured detail. Then we'll turn our attention to a woman of the time, the AO wife, and her precarious place in the economy and community. We'll then peer into the shrouded mystery of the Black Death. And finally, we'll lift the veil on the elite, dining among the gilded in contrast to the grime below. Close your eyes if you like. Let your breathing steady. Imagine the past, not as it is usually told, but as it truly unfolded, one quiet day at a time. Imagine yourself waking up not to an alarm, but to the sound of hooves and hammers echoing off stone. You're not alone. You never are. In your shared room, really more of a corner of a single-room home your family stirs. Parents, children, maybe an aging grandparent. The air is thick with breath and straw dust. The walls damp in the corners. There's no privacy here. There's no silence either. Your bed, a pile of old rags atop hay. The hay itches always. The rags never fully dry, especially in winter. When the cold presses in through wooden shutters, ill-fitted to the wind, if it rained yesterday, and it often does, the streets outside are slick with mud, manure, and whatever the chamber pots contributed overnight. You dress in the same rough tunic you wore yesterday. It's made of undyed wool. Of course, it smells faintly of smoke from the fire pit, where breakfast a crust of barley bread, maybe a smear of soft cheese, if you're lucky, is warming. There is no toothpaste, no bathroom, no soap as you know it. You rinse your face with cold water from a shared bucket, water drawn from the communal well, unless that well has gone stagnant or dry. Outside, the street is alive, but not bright. The city is narrow, pressed in. Buildings lean inward, upper stories almost touching above, turning streets into long, crooked corridors. The sky is a suggestion. People bustle past. Bakers with wide wooden trays, children with bare feet chasing each other. A pig nudges through refuse near a cart. The butcher has already begun his day's work, can hear the wet thump of the cleaver, can smell it too, mingled with the sour reek of urine that's thrown from upper windows with a warning cry. Guard Lou, if you're lucky enough to hear it in time. You are a laborer, or perhaps a weaver's apprentice. Maybe you've been apprenticed to a candle maker, and your hands are speckled with wax burns. Your work is physical, repetitive, and long. There is no off the clock. You work when there's light, or when there's fire to see by. Lunchtime, if it exists, is hasty. Often a shared pot of pottage, bubbling with lentils, onions, or turnips. Meat is rare, reserved for festival days, and even then, it's more bone than flesh. Illness comes often, and it lingers. A toothache becomes an infection. Cough can mean weeks of worsening fatigue. The physician's remedies are herbs, leeches, or charms. Not all believe in them. Many rely instead on prayer. As the sun sets dimly through the crowded skyline, you might gather near the fire in the town square, or huddle with neighbors for warmth and gossip. News spreads slowly, if at all. There are no newspapers, no clocks, no maps for you. Instead, the rhythm of your life is set by bells. The church bell tolls for morning mass, for midday pause, and for evening prayer. It also tolls when someone dies. Often it tolls, and when the night closes in, so does fear. There are no streetlights. Darkness hides everything: thieves, rats, spirits, or so you believe. You bar your door with a plank. Hope the wind stays out and settle in on your hay again. The city is still, but it is not quiet. Dogs bark. Someone wails in the alley. A baby cries through thin walls. Sleep comes slowly and never deeply. And tomorrow, it's the same. Now, Let us step sideways through time not far, but just enough to change perspective. Imagine for a moment that you are not a laborer or apprentice, but a working woman in the same medieval town. Your name is not remembered by history, few names are, but your work touches many every day. You are known as an alewife. Before tea, before coffee, before filtered water, there was ale. In your world, ale is not a luxury, it is necessity. The water that flows through your city's wells and streams is often murky, contaminated. But ale, brewed and boiled, is safer, so you make it. Day after day, year after year, your workspace is small. The brew hearth is in your kitchen, perhaps shared with family. Every corner smells of malt and smoke. The air is warm, sometimes uncomfortably so, thick with steam when the brewing begins. You work with large wooden tubs, stirring, lifting, measuring, all by instinct and repetition. You know the feel of the grain when it is properly soaked. Know the exact temperature judged by the back of your hand when the mixture is ready to ferment. You begin early. Before the sun crests the church spire, you are grinding barley. Perhaps your daughter helps, turning the stone mill with slow, steady effort. It is back-breaking work. It's but quiet, familiar. You mash, you steep, you boil, you wait. Later, as the mash cools and the yeast begins its unseen work, you tend to other tasks. Feeding children, mending clothes, perhaps visiting the local market for more grain, if you can afford it. Or buying herbs, sometimes hops, but often herbs like Groot, a local mix that gives your ale its distinct taste. Every region is different. Every alewife, too. By mid-afternoon, the brewing is done. You ladle the cloudy brown ale into clay jugs. You set out your aisle stike a wooden sign, simple and worn, outside your door to show passers-by that you are open, and soon they come. Customers range from neighbors to traveling peddlers. Sometimes men linger too long at your bench. Some drink to quench thirst. Some drink to forget aches and debts. Some drink because it is the only warm thing they will taste all day. You must watch them all. Manage them, gently, to stern, and they will take offense, to soft, and they may take more than ale. As a woman handling money and alcohol, your position is precarious. Respected by some, resented by others. Rumors follow alewives like shadows whispers of watered brews, of greed, of witchcraft even. You have heard them before. You ignore them now. In the evening, when the jug is empty and your shoulders ache, you scrape the mash from your pots. You feed it to the pigs. You clean by candlelight. Your nails are dark with grain dust. Your clothes, spotted with beer and ash. Tomorrow, you will do it again. There is no guild for you, no formal training. Only the knowledge passed from mother to daughter, neighbor to friend. But your ale bitter, warm and strong, keeps the city alive. And though few will remember your name, for many, you are a small comfort in a harsh world. The fire of the hearth dims. The city outside begins to quiet. The rhythm of their lives, like the boil of the brew, rises and settles. Now we move from the familiar pulse of daily life into the darker corridors of history, where the veil of mystery remains thick, even after centuries of inquiry. The Black Death, one of the most devastating events in human history. And yet, despite its enormity, much of its story is clouded in uncertainty. Imagine, for a moment, the city where you now live, bustling and alive one day, and eerily still the next. You've heard the rumors? Whispers among your neighbors? At first it is just a few. Sickly bodies, perhaps feverish, restless. The death toll rises in distant places, the sick turning from pale to purple, gasping for breath as though the very air suffocates them. The town is concerned, but not yet in panic. After all, illness has always come and gone. But this is different. The next day, the news is worse. A cousin in a nearby village has died. Their eyes were swollen and black, skin cold to the touch. And now, 2 more neighbors are bedridden. You can hear their labored breathing through the thin walls of your home, followed by the heavy, muffled steps of someone carrying out a body. Soon, it's everywhere. The church bells toll constantly once, twice, over and over, as the number of deaths climbs. The air feels heavier. There is something in the atmosphere, something invisible and relentless. The city, once full of life, is now a place of silence and fear. This is the Black Death. It arrives in waves. First, there is the fever, sharp and hot, the kind that drips down your back and makes your bones ache. But then there is something worse, a swelling, in your armpits, in your groin, or the neck. You feel it. It starts small, a lump, maybe, unnoticed at first, but soon it grows. It pulses, red, inflamed. It is almost as if the body itself turns against you. Then there is the cough, deep, wet, and impossible to ignore. A dry wheeze turns into something more dangerous, a rattling that seems to echo from within. And with it, a foul smell, a scent of decay that follows in the wake of the ill, clinging to the walls, the air, the very streets. Some say it is the stench of death itself. At first, there is little that can be done. Physicians come with their strange potions, their unproven remedies. They wear masks with long, curved beaks filled with herbs and attempt to ward off the miasma they believe is causing the plague. But the remedies do little. The deaths mount. There is no escaping the specter. People turn to prayer. They pray with the desperation of those who know that survival is a game of chance. Churches are packed to the brim. Candles flicker in the hands of weeping widows and children. But the death toll continues to climb, with no sign of relief. In your city, you are not immune. People begin to flee those who can, at least. Traders abandon their shops. Wealthy citizens seal themselves away in their estates, but the pestilence does not care for wealth. It spreads rapidly, swiftly, leaving its mark on both rich and poor alike. Even the streets, once bustling with the hum of commerce, grow empty. The silence is oppressive. At night, the scent of the sick and the dying lingers in the cool air. The distance, you hear the wail of another lost soul. And it is followed by the inevitable call of the bell that rings once, twice, for the departed. What was the true cause of the Black Death? Many still wonder even today. Some say it was the bubonic plague, carried by fleas that lived on rats. Others speak of other causes, the miasma theory, which suggested the disease spread through bad air or even divine retribution. What we do know is that the Black Death transformed societies. Entire towns were wiped off the map. People were buried in mass graves. In some places, it is said that there were no survivors to bury the dead. The living simply moved on, leaving behind forgotten cemeteries where the earth swallowed the bodies whole. Even in its aftermath, the Black Death did not leave the world untouched. There were fewer people. The economy would stumble and then slowly begin to grow again. But something in the fabric of society had changed forever. Those who survived often found themselves living in a world that had been altered irrevocably by the pestilence. As the months pass and the fever recedes from your own body, you look around you. The city you once knew is barely the same. The life that filled its streets has been replaced by a deep, almost unbearable silence. And for many, the questions linger. Why here? Why now? The world continues to breathe, and yet the scent of death remains faintly in the air.